My mother-in-law tried to make me take a vitamin, but her paralyzed husband secretly slipped me a note. I pretended to swallow it and drove straight to the police. The pill was white, perfectly round, innocuous, and my mother-in-law was holding it out to me like it was a sacrament. "Here we are, darling," Cordelia Whitmore chirped, sliding a velvet jewelry box across the marble kitchen counter. The box itself probably cost more than my monthly rent used to cost back when I had to worry about rent. Inside, nestled on cream silk, sat a single white pill, a specialized prenatal supplement from a private clinic in Geneva, Dr. Beaumont's practice, essential for neural development during the first trimester. "You know how fragile these early weeks are. We can't have any complications." She lingered on that last word, complications, the way she'd lingered on unfortunate when Astrid first told her we were using my body for the pregnancy, the way she'd lingered on unconventional when she learned we'd used my sperm and a donor egg. "My name is Caspian Reed. I'm 28 years old, and I'm 3 months pregnant. The pregnancy was planned, wanted, celebrated. Astrid and I had spent 2 years discussing it. She's a medical researcher specializing in infectious diseases, brilliant, driven, passionate about her work. She'd always wanted kids, but her job required international travel, exposure to potential pathogens, conditions that made pregnancy risky for her specifically. I, on the other hand, worked from home as a software developer. My job was stable, safe, and could be done from anywhere. When we started discussing having a family, surrogacy seemed like the obvious answer. Except traditional surrogacy was expensive, $80,000 to $150,000, depending on the agency, money we didn't have. Then, my endocrinologist, Dr. James Patterson, who'd been managing my hormone therapy for 6 years, mentioned something I'd never considered. "You know," he'd said during a routine checkup, "you still have a functioning uterus. If you ever wanted to carry a pregnancy yourself, it's medically possible. We'd have to adjust your hormones, but trans men have carried pregnancies successfully." The idea had seemed wild at first. I'd spent years trying to be seen as male, trying to distance myself from the biological realities that had made me dysphoric. But as Astrid and I discussed it more, something shifted. This wasn't about my dysphoria. This was about creating our family in a way that worked for us, using my body as a tool, not a definition. We could use my sperm saved before I started hormone therapy and a donor egg. The baby would be genetically ours, and we'd save $150,000. Astrid's family had reacted poorly. Her father Fletcher had been cautiously supportive, asked thoughtful questions, wanted to make sure I'd be safe, healthy, supported. He'd hugged me after we told them and said, "Whatever makes you two happy, that's all that matters." But Cordelia had gone white, actually white, like I'd announced I had a contagious disease. "This is a joke," she'd said. "Astrid, tell me this is a joke." "It's not a joke, Mother. We're starting our family. You're going to let—" She'd gestured at me with barely concealed disgust. "Let him do this? Parade around Portland, carrying a baby? Do you understand how this will look? What people will say? The Whitmore name attached to this circus? The Whitmore name will be attached to my child," Astrid had said coldly. "Get used to it or get out." Cordelia had chosen a third option, sabotage, disguised as concern. The Whitmore manor was always cold, not just temperature cold, though the AC was set to a glacial 62 degrees, but the kind of cold that seeps into your bones and whispers that you don't belong here. 3 stories of gray stone and old money in Portland's West Hills, rooms I'd never been in, paintings worth more than most people's houses, a wine cellar Cordelia kept locked because she didn't trust me not to damage her collection. Astrid, my wife, the woman I'd married 2 years ago in a ceremony Cordelia had boycotted, was 8,000 miles away on a medical research assignment in Singapore. 3 more weeks until she'd be home, which left me alone in this tomb with her mother. Cordelia Whitmore, 63 years old, former president of the Portland Women's League, current board member of 3 charities and 2 museums, a woman who smiled like a politician and looked at me like I was dog shit she'd stepped in at the country club. "I can take it on the plane, Mom," I said, nausea churning in my stomach. Morning sickness had been hitting me hard since week 10. "My flight's in 2 hours. I'm feeling a bit off." "Nonsense." Her smile hardened, the mask cracking just slightly. "You'll forget. You always forget things. Take it now. For Astrid. For the baby. Don't be difficult." Difficult. That was her favorite word for me. Difficult when I'd suggested a modest wedding instead of the society circus she'd wanted. Difficult when I'd refused to sign a post-nuptial agreement giving the Whitmores full custody if Astrid and I ever divorced. Difficult when I'd insisted on using my own OB-GYN instead of her family doctor, who'd probably gone to medical school sometime during the Eisenhower administration. I'd been staying at the Whitmore estate for 5 days, while Astrid was overseas, and our apartment was being fumigated for a silverfish infestation. 5 days of Cordelia's passive-aggressive comments about my working-class background, my unusual decision to carry our baby, my general unsuitability for her daughter. 5 days of hell. Day 1, she'd served me sushi for dinner. "Oh, I forgot," she'd said when I'd refused. "Pregnant people aren't supposed to eat raw fish. How silly of me. I'm just so used to normal pregnancies." Day 2, she'd asked if I'd really thought through the implications of doing this. When I'd asked what she meant, she'd smiled that politician's smile and said, "Just that people might make assumptions about you, about Astrid, about the child. It's going to be difficult for everyone." Day 3, she'd shown me a brochure for a wellness retreat in Switzerland. "For pregnant people who need time to think," she'd explained. "Sometimes we make decisions we later regret. This place helps people work through their options. Very discreet, very private, no judgment." I'd declined. She'd looked disappointed. Day 4, she'd started talking about adoption. "Such a beautiful option," she'd said over breakfast. "There are so many loving couples who can't have children. And really, Caspian, is this the best environment for a child? With your situation? Children need stability. They need normal families. We are a normal family," I'd said through gritted teeth. "Of course," she'd agreed, not agreeing at all. Day 5 was the pill. That's when I noticed Fletcher. My father-in-law sat slumped in his wheelchair near the bay window, silent as furniture. Fletcher Whitmore had been a different man 2 years ago. Gregarious, warm, the only member of Astrid's family who'd actually welcomed me. Then came the stroke. Massive, right hemisphere. It had stolen his voice and paralyzed his entire right side, leaving him locked in a body that wouldn't obey him. Cordelia treated him like a houseplant, watered occasionally, mostly ignored, stuck in corners where he wouldn't be inconvenient. But today, Fletcher was agitated. His left hand, the only part of him that still worked properly, was tapping against the armrest of his wheelchair. Tap, 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 tap. His breathing was heavy, labored, desperate. His eyes were locked on me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. "Caspian," Cordelia pressed, her voice dropping its artificial sweetness. "Stop being dramatic. Swallow the pill. Don't make me treat you like a child." I reached for the pill. My hand was shaking. I tried to tell myself it was just the hormones, just the pregnancy, just my imagination working overtime, because I'd never trusted this woman, and being alone with her was making me paranoid. Crash! Fletcher's left arm swept out violently, smashing an antique vase off the side table next to his wheelchair. The vase, blue and white porcelain, probably Ming Dynasty, probably worth more than a car, exploded against the marble floor. Water and dead roses scattered everywhere. "You useless old fool," Cordelia shrieked. The mask didn't just crack, it shattered. She stormed toward the hallway, her voice rising to a pitch I'd never heard before. "That was 18th century Sèvres porcelain. Do you have any idea what that cost? Are you trying to bankrupt us?" She disappeared into the hallway, still screaming about property values and insurance claims and Fletcher's deteriorating mental state. I rushed to Fletcher's wheelchair. "Dad, are you okay? Did you hurt yourself?" His trembling left hand grabbed mine. The grip was surprisingly strong. He shoved something into my palm, something small and crumpled, a napkin, tightly balled. He squeezed my hand once, hard, then let go. His eyes were pleading, desperate, terrified. I pocketed the napkin just as Cordelia returned with a dustpan and broom. "Move aside," she snapped at me. "He's just seeking attention. He does this. Don't encourage him." While her back was turned, while she swept up thousands of dollars of broken porcelain like it was trash, I carefully uncrumpled the napkin in my pocket. 2 words, scrawled in jagged, barely legible handwriting, the handwriting of a man trying to write with his non-dominant hand, his only working hand. "Abortion pill." The world tilted. My vision narrowed. I looked at the white pill still sitting in its velvet box on the counter. She wasn't trying to help my baby. She was trying to kill it. "Caspian," Cordelia said, turning back to face me. Her mask was back in place. Perfect smile. "Concerned mother-in-law, you haven't taken it yet. Come now. The taxi will be here any moment." My heart was hammering. My hands were shaking. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to grab my bag and sprint out the door. But I couldn't. Not yet. I needed evidence. Needed something more than a napkin and an accusation. "You're right," I said, forcing my voice to stay steady, forcing my face into something approximating compliance. "Sorry. Pregnancy. Brain." I picked up the pill, held it between my thumb and forefinger. It was heavier than I expected. Denser. I brought it to my lips. Cordelia was watching me like a hawk. Her eyes never left my face. I put the pill in my mouth. The taste was immediate and awful, bitter, chemical, wrong. Nothing like the prenatal vitamins I'd been taking. Nothing like any supplement I'd ever had. I kept my expression neutral, reached for the glass of water sitting next to the velvet box. "That's a good boy," Cordelia said softly. "I knew you'd see reason." I tilted my head back, took a long gulp of water, made my throat bob like I was swallowing, but the pill was still there, tucked under my tongue, half dissolved and burning. "All done," I said, opening my mouth briefly to show my empty tongue, or what looked like an empty tongue. Cordelia studied me for a long moment, then satisfaction washed over her face. Real satisfaction. The look of someone who'd just won something important. "Good boy," she said again. "Now run along. Don't miss your flight." A car horn honked outside. My taxi. I grabbed my overnight bag, already packed, already waiting by the door. "Thanks for everything, Cordelia. Tell Fletcher I said goodbye." I practically ran out the door. Whitmore, down the stone steps, across the circular driveway to the waiting cab. The driver was already loading my suitcase into the trunk. The moment I dove into the back seat and slammed the door, I spat the half-dissolved pill into a tissue I'd grabbed from my pocket. My mouth was burning. The chemical taste made me gag. Portland International? The driver asked. Older guy, maybe 60, sick, kind eyes. No, I said, my voice shaking. Change of plans. Take me to the nearest police station. Police station? Yes, now, please. He looked at me in the rearview mirror, saw something in my face that made him stop asking questions. He pulled out of the driveway, tires crunching on gravel, and headed back toward downtown. I pulled out my phone with trembling hands. Texted Astrid. Asterisk. Call me the second you can. Emergency. I'm okay but need you to call. Asterisk. Then I carefully wrapped the tissue containing the pill and placed it in a plastic baggie I'd snagged from the Whitmore kitchen. Chain of custody. That's what they called it on crime shows, right? The downtown precinct was a gray concrete building that looked like it had been built during the Cold War and never updated. I walked in at 11:47 a.m., carrying my overnight bag and a plastic baggie containing what I was pretty sure was an attempt on my life. The officer at the front desk, young, maybe 25, nameplate reading R. Martinez, looked up from his computer. Can I help you? I need to report an attempted murder, I said. My voice came out steadier than I expected. He blinked. I'm sorry. What? My mother-in-law just tried to poison me. I have the substance she gave me. I need it tested, and I need to make a formal report. Martinez's expression changed. Skepticism melted into concern. Okay, let me get a detective. Have a seat. I sat in a plastic chair that was probably older than I was. Waited. My phone buzzed a text from Astrid. Asterisk. In a meeting. Can't talk. Is everything okay? Asterisk. I typed back. Asterisk. Your mother tried to kill our baby. I'm at the police. Call when you can. Asterisk. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then my phone rang. What the fuck do you mean my mother tried to kill our baby? Astrid's voice was tight with panic. In the background, I could hear voices speaking rapid Mandarin. Caspian, what happened? I told her. All of it. The pill. Cordelia's insistence. Fletcher's warning. The escape. Oh my God, Astrid whispered. Oh my God, Caspian. Are you is the baby? I didn't swallow it, I pretended. Your father saved us. My father? He smashed a vase to distract your mother. Slipped me a note warning me. Astrid, I think he's been trying to warn people for a while. I think she's been... Mr. Reed? A woman in a gray suit stood in front of me. Late 40s, dark hair pulled back, badge clipped to her belt. She had the look of someone who'd seen everything and wasn't impressed by much. I'm Detective Lisa Reyes. I understand you're reporting an attempted poisoning? I have to go, I told Astrid. The detective is here. I'll call you back. I'm getting on a plane. I'll be home as soon as I can. Caspian, I'm so sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. She hung up. I followed Detective Reyes into an interview room. Gray walls, gray table, 2 chairs, a camera in the corner that she clicked on. For the record, she said, sitting across from me. I'm Detective Lisa Reyes, Portland Police Bureau. 16 years with the department, currently with the Major Crimes Unit. The time is 11:54 a.m., Friday, November 17th. I'm speaking with Caspian Reed regarding a report of attempted poisoning. Mr. Reed, you understand this interview is being recorded? Yes. Walk me through what happened. Start from the beginning. I did. Told her about Cordelia's hostility, about staying at the estate, about the pill, about Fletcher's warning, about pretending to swallow it and escaping. When I finished, Reyes was quiet for a moment. You have the substance? I pulled out the baggie. It was in my mouth for maybe 30 seconds, half dissolved. I spit it out the moment I was in the taxi. She put on latex gloves and examined the baggie. And your father-in-law, Fletcher Whitmore, he wrote a note saying this was an abortion pill. Yes. I pulled out the crumpled napkin, showed her the words. Reyes photographed both items, labeled them, slipped them into evidence bags. I'm going to need a formal statement. Everything you remember about Mrs. Whitmore's behavior, any previous incidents, any threats or concerning statements, and I'm going to need you to go to the hospital for an examination. I'm fine. I didn't swallow it. Hospital anyway, she said firmly. We need documentation of your condition, your pregnancy status, any physical symptoms. This is attempted murder, Mr. Reed. Possibly attempted murder of a fetus depending on Oregon law. We need every detail documented. An hour later, I was at OHSU Oregon Health and Science University Hospital getting examined by Dr. Patricia Chen, an OB-GYN who'd been practicing for 19 years and looked deeply disturbed by what she was hearing. You're certain you didn't ingest any of the substance? She asked, moving the ultrasound wand across my belly. Positive. It was under my tongue. I spit it out within a minute. Good, because if this is what I think it is, she paused, looking at the ultrasound screen. Your baby is fine. Heartbeat is strong, 167 beats per minute. Size is appropriate for 12 weeks and 4 days. No signs of distress. Relief flooded through me. I'd been holding my breath without realizing it. However, Dr. Chen continued, I need to ask you some questions about your mother-in-law. Has she shown any other signs of hostility toward your pregnancy? Define hostility. She looked at me seriously. Any statement suggesting she doesn't want this baby? Any attempts to discourage you from continuing the pregnancy? Any offers of help that seemed suspicious? I thought back over the past 3 months. She offered to pay for me to rest at a private facility in Switzerland, said pregnant people sometimes need specialized care and that she knew an excellent doctor there. When I declined, she seemed angry. Dr. Chen made notes. Anything else? She asked if I'd considered other options. When I asked what she meant, she said, sometimes people rethink decisions and that she could help facilitate whatever I needed. This was around week 6. Did she specify what kind of help? No, but the way she said it. I paused. It felt like she was offering to arrange an abortion, but she never used that word. Just kept saying she could help if I changed my mind. I'm documenting all of this, Dr. Chen said, for your safety and the baby's. These aren't normal statements from a grandparent. Back at the police station, Detective Reyes was waiting with news. We tested the substance, she said. Had our lab rush it. It's a combination of mifepristone and misoprostol, which are abortion medications. Mifepristone blocks progesterone, which is necessary to maintain pregnancy. Misoprostol causes uterine contractions to expel the pregnancy. Together, they're used for medical abortions. This particular dosage, she looked at her notes. It's high, very high, enough to cause severe hemorrhaging, especially in someone who's 12 weeks along. My stomach dropped. I could have died. You could have, Reyes said bluntly. Medical abortion at 12 weeks should only be done under close medical supervision. The dosage in that pill was enough to cause uncontrolled bleeding, severe cramping, possible infection. If you'd taken it and then gotten on a plane, you'd have been 30,000 feet in the air when the hemorrhaging started. By the time the plane landed, she didn't finish the sentence. So she wasn't just trying to end the pregnancy. She was trying to kill you, Reyes said flatly. Maybe not intentionally. Maybe she thought you'd just miscarry and be fine, but the dosage was reckless, criminally reckless. What happens now? Now we get a warrant. I've already briefed the DA Deputy District Attorney Richard Holloway, 22 years prosecuting violent crimes. He's very interested in this case. We're getting a search warrant for the Whitmore estate, looking for any other pills, any documentation, any evidence of where she obtained these drugs. What about Fletcher, my father-in-law? We're coordinating with Adult Protective Services. If what you're saying is true, if he's been trying to warn people and Mrs. Whitmore has been preventing him from communicating, that's elder abuse, confinement, possibly worse. She leaned forward. Mr. Reed, I need you to be honest with me. Is there any chance Fletcher Whitmore has the mental capacity to have written that note? Any chance he's been coerced or manipulated? He's sharp, I said. The stroke affected his speech and mobility, not his mind. I've seen him follow conversations, respond with expressions, try to communicate. Cordelia talks about him like he's a vegetable, but he's not. He's trapped. Reyes nodded slowly. Then we're going to get him out. By 4:17 p.m., 3 squad cars were pulling up to the Whitmore estate. I watched from Detective Reyes's unmarked sedan, parked down the street. She'd insisted I come but stay in the car. Potential witness, potential victim, needed to be protected. Through the car window, I watched 6 officers approach the front door. 2 went around back, 1 stayed at the driveway entrance. Detective Reyes knocked, waited. The door opened. One of the housekeepers, Maria, who'd always been kind to me. The officers went inside. 12 minutes later, they brought Cordelia out in handcuffs. She was on the phone. They'd let her finish her call before arresting her. The body camera footage would later show exactly what she said. It's handled, Patricia. The problem will be gone by tomorrow. A tragic miscarriage at 12 weeks. These things happen. Then Astrid can finally come to her senses. The Vanderbilt boy is still single. Or that lawyer from the foundation board, what's his name? Clayton. Yes, someone suitable. Someone who won't embarrass us with this transgender pregnancy circus. That's when Detective Reyes interrupted. Cordelia Whitmore, you're under arrest for attempted murder, attempted feticide, and conspiracy to commit harm. You have the right to remain silent. What? This is absurd. On what grounds? The pill you gave your son-in-law? Reyes said calmly. The one you told him was a prenatal supplement. We tested it. Abortion drugs, high dose, enough to cause life-threatening hemorrhaging. Cordelia's eyes went wide. She looked past the officers and saw me sitting in the car. Her face twisted. Pure rage, pure hatred. You ungrateful little rat, she hissed. You freak. You think you can trap my daughter with your perverted pregnancy? You think you belong in this family? I was trying to save her from the embarrassment of, Ma'am, you have the right to remain silent, the officer repeated. I suggest you use it. They put her in the back of a squad car. She was still screaming, still listing my failures as a husband, my unsuitability, my presumption. While they processed Cordelia, I went inside with Detective Reyes and a woman from Adult Protective Services, Sarah Brennan, 46 years old, 23 years working with vulnerable adults. We found Fletcher in his usual spot, the wheelchair by the bay window. The broken vase had been cleaned up. Fletcher looked exhausted but alert. Mr. Whitmore, Sarah Brennan said gently, kneeling in front of his wheelchair. I'm Sarah Brennan from Adult Protective Services. Your son-in-law Caspian has reported concerns about your care. I need to ask you some questions. Blink once for yes, twice for no. Can you understand me? Fletcher blinked once, deliberately. Has your wife been preventing you from communicating with others? 1 blink. Yes. Has she been withholding care or medication? 1 blink. Has she threatened you or made you feel unsafe? 1 blink. Then tears started rolling down his face. Sarah's expression hardened. We're going to get you out of here, Mr. Whitmore. You're going to come with us to the hospital for a full evaluation. And then, we're going to make sure you're safe. Do you understand? 1 blink. It's over, Dad, I whispered, taking his left hand. The hand that had written that note. The hand that had smashed the vase. The hand that had saved my life and my baby's life. She's gone. You're safe now. He squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. The paramedics arrived at 4:47 p.m. to transport Fletcher to the hospital. When they wheeled him out into the November sunlight, the first time he'd been outside in months, according to Maria, the housekeeper, he didn't look back at his prison. He was staring at the sky, breathing free air, free. The search of the Whitmore estate turned up more evidence than I'd imagined. In Cordelia's private office, locked in a desk drawer, they found 3 bottles of prescription abortion medication from an online pharmacy operating illegally out of India. Detailed notes about dosages and optimal administration timing. Email correspondence with a woman named Patricia Vanderbilt discussing solutions to the Caspian problem. A draft of a prenuptial agreement giving Cordelia full custody of any children if Astrid died or was incapacitated. Financial records showing Cordelia had been diverting money from Fletcher's accounts since his stroke, over $240,000 in 3 years. In Fletcher's room, they found evidence of neglect, expired medications, a feeding schedule that provided barely adequate calories, a locked closet containing Fletcher's phone, laptop, and communication devices, a journal Fletcher had been keeping with his left hand, documenting abuse. One entry read, asterisk, she says, I'm too stupid to understand anything, but I understand this. She's killing me slowly, and now she wants to kill Caspian's baby. I have to warn him, but how? Another, asterisk, Caspian came to visit today. I tried to signal him, but C distracted him. She's always watching, always controlling. I'm so tired. If I could just make her understand that I'm still here. Still me. Asterisk. The last entry, dated 2 days before the pill incident. Asterisk C. Talking on phone about a solution to her embarrassment. She means Caspian. She means the baby. I have to do something. Even if it's the last thing I do. Asterisk. The evidence was overwhelming. Prosecuting Cordelia wasn't going to be hard. Proving she'd intended to harm me was impossible to deny. Deputy DA Richard Holloway called me on Saturday morning. Mr. Reed, I wanted to update you personally. Mrs. Whitmore is being charged with attempted murder, attempted feticide, elder abuse, financial exploitation, and conspiracy. Her bail has been set at $500,000 cash. She's currently in Multnomah County Detention Center. What does this mean for Fletcher? Mr. Whitmore is at OHSU under medical observation. APS has filed for emergency guardianship. He'll be evaluated by neurologists and social workers. If he's deemed competent and preliminary assessments suggest he is, he'll have input on his future care. And if he's not released before trial? We're prioritizing this, Holloway said. Your father-in-law is a victim and a witness. He'll be protected. Astrid landed at PDX at 3:42 a.m. on Sunday morning. I picked her up, still shaky, still processing. She looked like she'd been crying for 27 hours straight. I'm so sorry, she said, the moment she saw me. I'm so fucking sorry. I knew she didn't approve, but I never imagined. You couldn't have known. I should have. She's my mother. I should have seen it. We went to the hospital to see Fletcher. He was in a private room, hooked up to monitors, but sitting up in bed, alert, alive. When Astrid walked in, his whole face changed. Relief, love, guilt. Dad, she said, sitting next to him. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what she was doing to you. I didn't know. He reached out with his left hand. Astrid took it. He squeezed once. Then he pointed at me, pointed at my stomach, made a cradling motion with his arm. The baby's fine, I said. Thanks to you. You saved us, Dad. He smiled, really smiled, for the first time in what looked like years. The trial took 9 months. 9 months during which I carried our daughter. Yes, we found out she was a girl to term. 9 months during which Fletcher worked with speech therapists and physical therapists, slowly regaining some mobility and a handful of words. 9 months during which Cordelia's lawyer Marcus Sheffield, a high-powered defense attorney from a white-shoe Portland firm, tried everything. He claimed Fletcher was incompetent, that the stroke had affected his cognitive abilities, that the note was forged or coerced. 3 neurologists testified otherwise. Dr. Raymond Keller, a neuropsychologist with 24 years of experience, had evaluated Fletcher extensively. Mr. Whitmore is fully competent, Dr. Keller testified. His stroke affected his motor cortex and Broca's area, the parts of the brain responsible for movement and speech production. His cognitive functions, his memory, his reasoning abilities, all intact. He's not brain damaged. He's locked in. Sheffield claimed I'd fabricated the evidence, planted the pill, made up the story for attention or money. The toxicology report refuted that. The timeline refuted that. The body camera footage of Cordelia's phone call refuted that. It's handled, Patricia. The problem will be gone by tomorrow. Those words played in court 17 times. times. Each time, the jury's expressions hardened a little more. Sheffield claimed the pills were actually prescribed for Cordelia herself, that she'd been confused, that she'd accidentally given me her personal medication, thinking it was a prenatal supplement. The prosecution brought receipts from the illegal Indian pharmacy, brought email correspondence where Cordelia specifically requested medication to terminate early pregnancy, discreetly, no prescription needed. They brought testimony from Dr. Patricia Chen, my OB-GYN, about Cordelia's previous offers of help and suggestions about reconsidering decisions. They brought testimony from Maria, the housekeeper, who'd witnessed Cordelia's treatment of Fletcher. She talked to him like he was furniture, Maria testified, crying. She said he was worthless. She said he was better off dead. When I tried to help him communicate, she fired me and then hired me back with a threat that if I ever mentioned Mr. Fletcher again, she'd have me deported. They brought Fletcher himself. The courtroom fell silent when his wheelchair rolled in. He was wearing a suit, the first suit he'd worn since his stroke. His left hand was steady on the armrest. His eyes were clear. Deputy D.A. Holloway approached gently. Mr. Whitmore, can you tell the jury what happened the day your son-in-law visited? Fletcher's voice was slow, labored, but understandable after 9 months of speech therapy. She gave pill. I knew. Bad. Tried. Warn. How did you know the pill was dangerous? Heard her phone talking about getting rid of problem. The problem being baby. Caspian. Both. What did you do? Broke. Vase. Had to. Make noise. Had to. Warn him. Why didn't you try to warn him before? Fletcher's face crumpled. Couldn't. She watched. Always watched. Locked me away. No phone. No people. Just her. Cordelia's lawyer tried to object. Tried to claim this was hearsay. Tried to claim Fletcher was being coached. Judge Reynolds, a stern woman who'd spent 26 years on the bench dealing with domestic violence and elder abuse cases, shut him down. Mr. Sheffield, this witness has been evaluated by multiple medical professionals. He's competent, he's credible, and frankly, his testimony aligns with every other piece of evidence in this case. Sit down. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Attempted murder, attempted feticide, elder abuse, financial exploitation, conspiracy to commit harm. Judge Margaret Reynolds, 26 years on the bench, known for harsh sentencing in abuse cases, showed no mercy. Mrs. Whitmore, she said at sentencing, you attempted to murder your unborn grandchild and your son-in-law. You financially exploited and physically confined your disabled husband. You showed no remorse, no recognition of wrongdoing. You treated human beings as obstacles to your social standing. She sentenced Cordelia to 15 years in prison, no early release. In the gallery, Fletcher squeezed my hand with his left hand. Our daughter Iris was born on March 23rd at 7:14 a.m. 6 pounds, 8 ounces, healthy, perfect. Fletcher was there, in a wheelchair still, but there. When the nurses placed Iris in my arms, I wheeled over to him. Want to hold your granddaughter? I asked. His left arm, stronger now after months of therapy, reached out. The nurses helped position Iris safely. He looked down at her with tears streaming down his face. Pretty, he managed, one of the dozen words he'd relearned. So, pretty. She's got your eyes, Astrid said, crying too. Fletcher looked at me, looked at Iris, then, with tremendous effort, managed 3 more words. Thank you, son. Not son-in-law, son.